and so forth. So the answer is always competition. I think that
Hegelian. Okay, this is the intro to Marxism. You start with Hegel and then it's Marx. Watch out, libertarians! They're coming to get you. This guy's a secret Marxist.
This is the U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Okay.
Dave Smith.
I want to hear all about, because this is like one of the fearmonger points. ESGs, I want to hear why they're bad.
Uh-huh.
There's other things, too, that are really problematic that I don't think any other libertarian candidates are addressing at all. And that is the ESG. ESG is an extra governmental, parallel governmental coercion regime. Okay, that is forcing producers into producing certain things and eliminating other things, and it controls how they produce everything and what, in fact, they're able to produce, and therefore what we're able to buy. So it's kind of a cartel scheme that drives competitors out of business. That's what's in it for them. And it controls consumption to a great degree. So they're going to be basically not producing things that you want. And this is a complete distortion of the market, of course. And it is, it is a beast because it is a monopoly scheme. First of all, this is a monopoly scheme. So it's about eliminating laissez-faire. I mean, Klaus Schwab has said this directly.
Oh, my Klaus Schwab, here we go.
Hates what he calls neoliberalism. But what he means by it, after he defines it, is the free market itself. And they want to eliminate the free market.
Okay.
And ESG is a means by which they're doing this. ESG, of course, stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance Index.
How long did it take us to get to what it is?
And that's rating companies and eventually...
1 minute and 25 seconds.
Okay. If it takes you that long to define something when you're asked about it, we needed a minute 30 of pretext to set up a bias against it before he even talks about anything involved in it.
The individuals on their social score, and that is how well they abide by these
social score.
Dictates.
He's hinting at a fucking another state. This is another deep state, conspiracy plot that they're gonna fucking put on social credit scores like China. He's hitting all the deep state points.
Veto in office was vetoing a bill that would have prohibited ESG investing of pension funds. So that's the only veto that he's issued. And that's because they want this ESG. And of course, this is about total control as well. This is about controlling the company's behaviors and individuals' behaviors. It is about restricting everything that we can do. And the social credit score comes on top of that. So, and the other part of the ESG is G, and that is really about how much these companies and you as an individual comply with governmental dictates.
Right. Right. And it is a fascinating, which I actually was just learning about. In fact, Vivek Ramaswamy was
they're like,
oh boy, a lot about this.
Oh boy,
this is one of.
Bro, they're like, this is how it's going to affect you personally when corporations say that they can't fucking put like dioxin in your fucking drinking water.
I cannot believe that he just brought up Vivek Ramaswamy.
Oh, they love him.
Jesus fucking Christ.
One of the ways that the politicians kind of manipulate these standards is that it's like what Jimmy Hoffa, this used to be how he got so in with the mob and got powerful, was like, and it wasn't like he like had
so much Jimmy money. Hoffa is
the head of the union.
Vaguely someone in Chicago, I think.
No,
he got killed and probably buried in the Chicago stadium.
Yes, something like that. But the Martin Scorsese movie, The Irishman, is actually about Jimmy Hoffa.
Really?
Yeah. So like it's about one of the guys who's around him, but like there's the whole connection with Bay of Pigs in him as well.
Interesting. Because I don't know much about him. I only know sort of
vague
stuff from
No,
pop culture
this
references.
it's not. It's like James Hoffa is a side character in the story, but it takes place over like multiple decades. Like it takes place.
Okay.
It's like it's like almost like, you know how Goodfellas is about the rise of a real guy in the mob.
And so he could control where all their pensions were invested. So it was this enormous amount of money that he could then decide where that money is going to be funneled. And then from that, you get enormous power. And what we have now is these the public unions. So so with these politicians have complete control of all of the pensions of every public worker within their state, which is, but the only people who still have pensions in today's society pretty much
These people
are the ones who work for the government.
These people also support getting rid of people's pensions. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they do. Or selling them off.
Okay.
I think is probably what they
Where's the
actually
coercion machine though, guys? You see do you see their logo? Both the donkey and the elephant are blind. We're the only guys who can see the truth.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's the myth they sell.
Let's give him a 1.25 speed.
Okay.
So now they can say, we'll give all of this money to BlackRock, but only
Oh my
if
God.
you keep
Got
up
it.
with these
No. BlackRock is an actual issue.
No.
People
I'm just
really
saying
need to understand.
everything is another thing. This is bad. This scare, spooky, spooky.
It's the media narratives. It's the same shit.
Yeah, no, but this is like to an excessive degree. Every 2 words is another like coded like deep pill, deep state word. Just like ESG is like something I didn't know about until Ron DeSantis said it.
G scores only if you invest the money this way. So it is the politicians driving these shadowy private companies that then enforce all of this on the entire country. It's really when people wonder, they're kind of like, wait a minute, I understand.
Okay, but you're how do you do an anti-union thing about how the unions are going to lead to the mafia, and then talk about how the government is like controlling these businesses to take over the country? Who's going to stop them? The Libertarian Party getting 5% of the vote? You're literally like, unions are bad, and also like, what do you want, Dave? What do you want?
Well, you have to understand, libertarians are small bootlickers. They want only a little bit of government, which is why they're really Republicans, because they don't actually want a little government. They're just Republicans.
They're full of shit. They're just
small government.
College campuses where they've decided the new fad is like that there's no such thing as gender. Like, okay, you can kind of understand where 19-year-olds
another one. Rapid fire.
Every time.
Rapid fire. All this type of shit. Keep going. Let's see how many he can clock on here. Like how many sentences, if he can get a single sentence that doesn't have one of their trigger words in it.
Crazy stuff. Right. Particularly 19-year-olds who grew up without families and have been medicated their entire life. But
come on, dude. Now we're doing anti-medication. The next sentence,
corporation
Jesus
in America decide there's no such thing as gender. But these aren't 19-year-olds. These aren't 19-year-olds who are being kind of like swept away by some argument a liberal arts professor is making. What's going on?
Liberal arts
going
professor
on here. That the government is directing these shadowy corporations.
Shadow corporations,
This is why it's happening.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And
what
Jimmy Hoffa is Larry Fink, in effect. Larry Fink of BlackRock is pushing all this through the markets. He says basically he will starve your company of capital investments if you do not abide. And why is that important to us? It's obviously a distortion of the market, but it's about total control over all spending and control over what we can consume, control over all production. And it's a monopoly scheme, as I said. It's a way of getting rid of competitors, and that's what's
the
in it
guy
for them.
is responding.
So I argue
to when Dave said the thing about the unions in the beginning, and then Dave went on a rapid fire trigger word spree, and that guy didn't have anything to do with the question.
No. It's very strange.
Who's coercing who?
You in the book, you got to divest from ESG. It's feeding the beast. So find a way to divest if you have investments in these portfolios that have any stocks at all. And I know I'm speaking to a sliver of people, but also your banks are involved in this. So you've got to pull your
hang on. We're also giving bad economic advice now. The number one thing you should be investing in if you're like a serious capitalist investor is green tech, right? And guess who's doing it? Oil companies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like already you can just keep your fucking stock in ExxonMobil, guys. Come on.
Promoting ESG. And Brian Moynihan of Bank of America has said, if a company
Terrible
or a person
company.
doesn't meet the ESG bar, you will not get a loan. You will not get money. You'll be starved on the vine.
Okay.
Yeah, and right, and as you
Oh
said,
no,
from the
Bank of
libertarian,
America.
point of
Who
view,
the
like,
fuck
this
cares?
is not a product of anything resembling a laissez-faire market.
If only
This is
we
not
had
Bank of
If
America.
only we had more than one bank, but we only have the Bank of America.
Yeah, it's not like there's 40 other banks around or credit unions.
Bank of America is like a federalized bank, right? They're the ones that get bailouts and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's so many others.
Yeah, there's
You
heaps.
think there's not a corrupt, twisted bank that you can fucking like? Come on, guys.
Is not just some private company. You know, they're a member of the Federal Reserve. That's
exactly.
This is our own government.
Federal Reserve
who's
trigger
doing
word.
this to us.
And that's another thing I wanted to mention
Sure,
is
sure.
like what we're seeing too is what is the state today? It's not just the government at this point. We're looking at the absorption of corporations into the state. They have become state apparatuses, or what I call governmentalities. We can obviously see this with big tech.
How?
We see it through the Twitter files, but I knew this back in 2000.
Oh, the Twitter files.
That big tech is a state apparatus. It is being absorbed by the state and is being used for state functions and largely repressive functions of censorship, propaganda, and narrative control.
Hey guys, remember when ISIS? Remember when ISIS was? Hang on. One of the biggest things. So ISIS specifically, they created the stuff they did with technology, bringing in those British whiz kids. So there's something they call it the Caliphate cache. It's basically everything ever produced by al-qeada and Daesh and all their affiliates. And all it takes is a link to get to this place where it's hosted. So they're hosted on local drives. So even if you take that website down and you seize it, it goes right back up, and they're filtering links out there constantly, right? And as I've said before, ISIS is actually the main reason of the ad apocalypse and stuff. All that censorship stuff. It was because of ISIS, right? So pro-ISIS cache, over 90,000 documents, and it was receiving 10,000 visits every month. 60% of them direct clicks. So they had the link originally, 60% direct clicks.
60%?
40% through social media, almost all YouTube.
Jesus.
Mixed in the manuals and how-to guides was propaganda around lifestyle, food, and even healthcare.
Crazy.
This was seized right after we killed Baghdadi, was when we first discovered this. And it's still around. So when we talk about censorship and stuff like that, like we're not talking about China controlling WhatsApp here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Elon wants to make WhatsApp. Can you guys not see how he's like, hey, I'm trying to copy the Chinese social media program, right?
Not WhatsApp, it's
whatever it is.
WeChat.
WeChat.
He wants to make Twitter into WeChat, which is fucking insane.
Yeah, link your bank account to Twitter.
Crazy.
Like, you guys don't see. How do you guys not see that? How do you guys not look at something being copied directly from like Chinese state control with a capitalist? Yeah.
He's literally said as much.
It's almost like these people just use trigger words and don't have any values.
In a broader perspective than we've been used to as libertarians, and start to see the state as the regime, inclusive of these governmentalities. And big pharma is obviously a governmentality. It's also
here we go.
And absorbed into the state. Look how they got monopoly and liability, lifted liability for these vaccines and monopoly over them through patents. And then what did the state get in exchange for granting these limited monopolies and this effective, limited liability? They got increased powers of coercion over the population. And the same goes, of course, for the military-industrial complex. This was the obvious one for many, many years.
Oh, boy.
What do they get from it? They get money, of course, but the state then expands its power and it also represses, the domestic population. It calls them into submission, and it spies on them. So this is how we have to reconfigure our understanding.
How we have to
reconfigure our what it is we're opposed to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like because there are libertarians.
Dave wasn't
one of the
listening.
issues is that this stuff.
Dave
is a little
responded
bit
too
complex.
quick. He wasn't listening.
And so it's like you have to do a little bit of work to actually understand it. But to think of for a libertarian to think of BlackRock or Vanguard or one of these companies as like, oh, that's just a private company, and hey, if they choose to invest their money this way, they have a right to invest their money.
Right.
It's
But not
on the
Twitter.
level of saying like, hey, Raytheon's just a private
No, of
company,
course
and if
not.
they want
Right.
to make their missiles this way, then that's how they make their missiles. It's like, no, that's not at all. They're in the web of state
Oh,
power.
so you
because
want to
of state
censor
power. They
business?
exist to perpetuate
Okay.
state power, and they benefit from it, and they're benefiting and perpetuating everything we're against, and so we oppose them. That's the libertarian message.
Yeah.
Get that through your head, libertarians.
That's why you can't say about social media, well, it's their platform. It's a private company. They can censor whoever they want. Well, they're censoring them at the behest of the state. They're censoring them at the behest of the FBI and other agencies, Department of Homeland
Mostly
Security.
ISIS,
We saw
though.
this with the Twitter files. We see this. with
You'd
the
be
Tory versus
surprised.
Biden. It's very clear that these companies are operating at the state's direction.
Yes, 100%. And then the other thing that happens here, and this is another reason why I think it's great that you're in the race, is that there will be
In the race?
some Republicans, let's say, who will come out and say, yeah, I'm against all of this stuff. I oppose wokeism and I oppose censorship on social media. But their solutions then
It's censorship.
are always it's always some next government program, some next government plan, which
Exactly.
is and it's frustrating, but as I try to say often to my right-wing listeners, that look,
All of them.
when the Department of Homeland Security was created, when the Patriot Act was passed, it was libertarians who were telling the conservatives, do not support this. This is going to be a disaster. It's going to be used against you. And now look at it. Who's the war on terrorism on now? It's on the same right-wingers
Oh my
who
God.
supported George W. Bush in creating all.
Isn't it cool how the rhetoric has no expiration date for them?
No,
Isn't that awesome?
it is quite funny.
There was already something I wanted to comment on while I was trying. I had to give my chinchilla something so he'd stop eating plastic. But what did he say? What did he just say before he went into this? Can you go back 20 seconds?
Patriot Act was passed. It was libertarians who were telling the conservatives, do
Keep
not
going back
support
before
this.
this.
As I try to say often to my right-wing listeners, that always it's always some next government program, some next government plan.
Okay,
And
this right here. So he's mad that the government's solution to things is by using government, as opposed to
Man
what?
yells at cloud.
As opposed to what, Dave? What else would the government do? What do you control capitalism? Is that what you want him to do?
That's what it sounds like.
But his response would be like, "No, you don't understand. I don't want the government to exist." Okay, buddy. All right. You can go places.
But as I try to say often to my right wing.
Let me tell you, Dave. Al-Shabaab is looking real good right now, so you might want to check them out if that's what you're into.
Listeners, that look, when the Department of Homeland Security was created, when the Patriot Act was passed, it was libertarians who were telling the conservatives, do not support this. This is going to be a disaster. It's going to be used against you. And now look at it. Who's the war on terrorism on now? It's on the same right-wingers who supported George W. Bush in creating all this stuff.
Exactly, domestic terrorists. Yeah.
Right. So you would think we would have gained a little bit of credibility at this point.
I got it. Come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are all domestic terrorists.
There it is.
When they go, well, what we need to do is nationalize Twitter. And go, no, do not do that. This is going to, it can still get so much worse than it is now for you. And so there's got to be kind of someone.
It doesn't make a profit, Dave.
But we also recognize that
He doesn't understand.
You're a libertarian. You're supposed to. Well, if it doesn't make a profit, shouldn't exist. Not a good business. Invent something better that does make a profit. That's you.
That's so funny.
You either nationalize it or it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a profit.
That is generally true.
You do the same thing. We do the same. We have nationalized fucking news, don't we?
Yep. I mean, look at all the Smithsonian
other
museums.
social media platforms won't exist?
I mean, if you look at the Smithsonian, there's no way that would survive on commercial basis alone. They're nationalized, right?
Museums, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Twitter is the least used one of them, but it's the most used by government. Thanks to Donald Trump, who announced. Who did he fuck? The guy who just stepped down. It's like the general secretary, I think.
I don't know.
It's like he's the Pentagon official in Trump's cabinet, basically.
Okay.
But he hired him right after, and then the guy's like first week on the job, Trump took him across the street to hold the Bible upside down. And then immediately after that, he was like denounced it, and he didn't know it was going to happen.
That's so funny.
And
problem here is government
he stayed on into the Biden admin, and now he's just now retiring. But his hiring was announced on Twitter. That was the first time something like that has been announced on Twitter.
That's so funny.
Intervention into the market, and the solution is to get government out of this entirely.
And absolutely, like you have DeSantis in Florida. He's a big culture warrior. But his solution to infiltration of wokeness,
culture wanker,
the academy, including in the curriculum with CRT and LGBTQIA ideology, is to ban it, which is just absolutely insane. That's exactly what they want you to do, because then they can point to you and say you're the authoritarian. And secondly, what we need is competition in this marketplace. Competition in all.
Did Dave say this? Did Dave say this guy was running as a libertarian, like running for office? And here he is, bootlicking a Republican?
No. He was saying DeSantis is wrong for this. He's anti.
No, he's saying he's wrong. He's saying he's wrong only because it gives them ammunition, meaning he supports DeSantis.
But it wasn't.
Right? Am I reading this wrong?
Sure, you did, that is technically, if you really look into it. But as far as like, because everything has to be like double speak and that type of shit. Mm-hmm. So like the thing that on the double speak level, maybe he would get down to that level, but like on the average person hearing that, it's just DeSantis is bad because he's stopping free speech. Because libertarians are also supposed to like gay people, but also not at the same time. Not in kids, as long as they're not in schools or kids, and also no trans in sports.
Yeah, nothing at all. But no, they're radically leaving them alone.
Yes. That's such a funny way to put it.
and so forth. So the answer is always competition. I think that
Hegelian. Okay, this is the intro to Marxism. You start with Hegel, and then it's Marx. Watch out, libertarians! They're coming to get you. This guy's a secret Marxist.
Have been established as monopolies. They've been established as monopolies through state funding. So what we need to do is end the state funding, end the monopolization of ideas, end the monopolization of the market, and
monopolization of ideas.
And competition.
100%.
What?
He said, end the monopolization of ideas.
Oh my god, that is dumb.
We're almost done. We got 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I want to switch gears here because I want to talk about a few other issues that are very important. I wanted to talk a bit about immigration. This is another thing that I'm really glad that you are where you are on this issue. I think there are some libertarians who still support the notion of open borders. As I've been saying for years, this is not the correct libertarian position. It's just it's not actually the correct understanding of libertarianism.
Come on,
perhaps more important than that, for a presidential campaign, it is it's just a deal breaker. It's a killer. As soon as you say that, whatever anybody, the truth is that probably even amongst the Democratic Party base, open, but none of them come out and say I'm for open borders because it's an enormously unpopular position. But for a libertarian to say it, no one's going to listen to any of the rest of the great things you have to say if you're for that. It's also
government can't do things unless it's stopping people coming into the borders. Cool, Dave. Government supporter, state bootlicker. Okay, bro.
Dar, zanga, ferd.
The correct libertarian position is offering these people aid.
Genocide.
Correct, according to them, is genocide.
What? Genocide.
Kill them. Kill them, boys in the water that drown people.
For them, they think that a philanthropist should be the one who goes and feeds all the people camped out at the border, and they should somebody who has a lot of money should go down to the border and then stabilize it with their capital, is what they believe.
Because that definitely works. 100% that works every time.
And it can't be a tax write-off because those are evil and to do with government.
So not the correct position,
which is weird. You think they want less tax?
Explain where you're
fake
at
tax
on the
loopholes.
and also kind of how that seems to also be a huge component of what the ruling elite wish to push on us.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so go ahead.
It's a huge part of it.
Another
I'll start with
buzzword.
the latter point, that the elite want to have open borders because they're looking to dissolve national sovereignty, and they're not doing that for good reasons.
Oh,
like
extinction
getting
of the
rid
white
state.
race.
They want
Okay.
global statism, which is the ultimate enemy, because global statism can be utterly
They're gonna hunt me
totalitarian,
for
and there's
sport.
no escape when you have a global state, when you have a one world system. So I'm talking about localization all the way down. So
Okay, we should have
What
ended
the
earlier.
fuck?
Great editing.
Awful.
I was like, oh, he's
Holy
transitioning.
shit.
We should end here. But I was like, whatever. Come on.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, God. I really need something. I really need something less cancerous from you. Come on. No cancer. No cancer. No cancer. No cancer.
2 minutes.
We came very close to a nuclear war. Let me tell you why. Because had there been a civil war, had Russia would have had to put its nuclear forces on full alert, because you have a coup happening at a time when the Russian intelligence services are briefing Putin that this is orchestrated by American forces, British forces, etc. They're trying to create this. There could have been uncertainty.
Do you know what he's talking about? Do you know what he's talking about?
I have no idea.
Oh my God, look what he's talking to too. Normally Matt Taibbi is on this show, but this one is fucking Aaron Mate. Because Scott Ritter needs an extra handler because he's got a little too out of control probably.
Jesus.
There could have been a nuclear war. So it's not a game, guys. This was dangerous. The question I have for Biden is the following. You claim you did nothing because you didn't want the Russians to think that you were involved. And yet you also claim that you were very worried about the security of Russia's nuclear weapons. Well, which is it, pal? Were you worried about the security of Russia's nuclear weapons, or did you not want to be involved? Because let me put it this way.
I think they put them on.
Many times the United States calls up their Russian counterparts and says, hey, there's a terrorist cell operating in St. Petersburg getting ready to blow up a device. And the Russian forces go, thank you very much. They go in and they disrupt it because we had that kind of cooperation. So if we're willing to stop a terrorist from blowing up an explosive device in St. Petersburg, and this is a statement of fact, it actually happened.
Of course it
Why
did.
aren't we willing to call up and say, hey, Vlad, Prigozhin's getting ready to make a move to overthrow you. We're concerned that, A, you might think it's us, it's not, and B, we think that he might be targeting a nuclear storage facility that's located around Voronezh, and we want to give you a heads up.
Talk about being misinformed. Holy shit. This is insane. This guy's a fuckwit. Next.
He also diddles kids.
Yeah, he does.
Twice convicted, I think. But he says it's because they want him to stop the truth.
Of course it is. That's what they all say.
But
Next one.
Okay, I've been warning people.
Oh, okay. This is why Chick-fil-A is gay now.
Yeah, that's the one.
All right, let's hear it, Charlie.
For quite some time, and they're all in. They have a DEI office, a diversity, equity.
Oh my God, we can't get rid of it. I told you, dude. Look at this. I told you. It took me literally like I didn't put any work into the fascist content creator thing, and already we got 2 of them just by clicking random links, both of the fucking acronym. This is why they've gone woke.
Sometime. They are an anti-white company in what they believe, which is very strange because they're owned by white people. But DEI is flat out anti-white bigotry and racism. It's like, how many different things can you possibly not shop at? It's Target, North Face, and yes, add Chick-fil-A to the list. People.
Maybe you should just starve and die then.
if there's Chick-fil-A is like the one that like hates gay people, right?
Yes, I know. I bet their nuggets are delicious.
I've never eaten there.
They're great.
I have principles. Unlike these.
This was in 2019. I don't know. It's pretty delicious. I thought it was pretty good. But
I'm sure it is.
It annoyed me when they were closed on Sunday. Fucking motherfuckers. How you running a business, you're not open on Sunday? Fuck you.
Seem to love their chicken. I think it's largely overrated, which is considered to be a heretical thought crime.
I think he's saying it's overrated because he's salty. This is like I used to like them, but now they're shit because politics.
Yeah, because we need to make them go broke for going woke.
It's so pathetic.
Look, Chick-fil-A's corporate office, they have a DEI office. They're basically now a college campus serving chicken. They
Oh my
want your
God.
money. And if you keep giving to them, you might as well write a check to diversity, equity, inclusion, which is anti-white and will destroy the country from within.
Okay.